And when we harmonize the metaphysical aspect of life, the spiritual aspect of life, and the physical aspect of life, like that's when I know I'm thriving and I'm feeling like a badass. And that's what I experienced.
But the spiritual awakening you talk about, I wrote it down.
Oh, yeah.
Hello and welcome to Pathways Unleashed, a special edition of Pathways with Amber Stitt. The Pathways Unleashed podcast were recorded with special guests and the authors of The Unleashed Entrepreneur and The Biohacking Entrepreneur, who were celebrating the book launches at the Unleash Your Superpower conference in Delray Beach, Florida in April 2025. Let's join the conversation. We have Suzaita Hipolito. Yeah, and you just flew in last night for this event. We've been talking about all these events this week. And welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm getting comfortable.
Get comfortable.
Pardon me.
We've had a lot of guests talk about entrepreneurial journeys, and we've had a few corporate folks talk about corporate. And I feel like when I want people to know about you is almost like three parts. It would be corporate life. There's a second part to it, just kind of like the detox of it all from your story. And then I have some notes here about new human, new lifestyle, new world. And so I want to talk about what that means to you, but I think we might have to go back a bit and share. It's not so much about authorship at this moment, but I want listeners to, if they are in that corporate position that you might have felt as like the success, that amazing side of the world, and then it kind of like starts unfolding and unraveling. I like how you share that with folks through your chapter. And so can we talk about that a little bit and go back in time?
Absolutely. I come from the world of pharma and clinical research, and I've been in that industry for over 20 years. And just to put in context, well, I still do, because I'm still in corporate. I help bring new drug therapies to market. It was my life, my identity for a very long time, corporate life, glamorous corporate life, six-figure income. And I really didn't know anything else except, working the 9 to 5, working for a W-2. And I never thought that I'd be in this place where I am now as an entrepreneur. So I'll get into that a little later. But I think what Amber is kind of evoking out of me here is my journey with corporate life.
Because you said W-2.
Yeah.
A lot of my clients are physicians that work for health systems, and then they might have something else. And we talked about how people are business owners and might do something else, but you were all in corporate.
I was all in, and, let's call it the golden handcuffs.
Sure.
I mean, first of all, I was very fortunate to be part of an industry where I can help make a difference in millions of patients' lives all around the world, helping with disease therapies and treatments. So that was a very, to me, a very honorable path. But what I wasn't prepared for was my corporate life, my role in corporate. I was married to my career. And my career became my identity. And so when I didn't have my career, which I was let go a couple times in my career, I kind of lost who I was. I didn't know who I was. I also spent a majority of my career seeking constant validation and approval,
production levels, bonus.
Yeah, from the people around me, because I didn't have a life outside of corporate.
Yeah.
And so my whole world, I literally was so proud of myself, thinking I'm working 50, 60-hour weeks. I was constantly on. And that sense of constantly seeking validation from my work environment, from the people around me, I had no power. I was very disempowered. And it got to a point where later on in my career, I developed an addiction to Adderall, which
You'll stay in the zone.
Yeah, competitive. Yes, because I realized I was having so much difficulty focusing. Then one day I went to go see a psychiatrist. It was at the beginning of my divorce. He prescribed me a cocktail of psychiatric medications for depression, anxiety, and ADHD. And when I got that diagnosis for ADHD, I was like, oh my God, I finally know what's wrong with me. This is why I can't think. So then I started taking Adderall, and Adderall, for those of you that don't know, is a highly addictive, very toxic pharmaceutical drug that is one molecule away from meth. So it's like a cleaner version of meth, if you will. And I would learn this years later when I took Adderall, and I'm by no means promoting the use of Adderall. I'm promoting actually the opposite of it.
Okay.
It gave me like laser focus. I felt on top of the world because focus. And that kind of became my path. And
that probably felt a bit amazing because you're like, you could be even more dialed into the production that you want to make. Because there is business owners too. We're like, let's go chase that thing and then get it. And then this is the hunt, but you're now laser focused and you got something helping you.
It's that high.
It could be tricky.
Right. It's a double-edged sword. It's that addiction as a high performer of wanting to do, go, always be on and, accomplish.
This episode of Pathways has been brought to you by Owl. Owl gives you access to new networks and valuable contacts, otherwise unreachable without a referral. Get in touch instantly in real time on a private one-on-one audio call. Search through vetted professionals to connect with the people you are looking for. Download the Owl app today and expand your reach.
I had an addiction to Adderall that I could not function without it. And I didn't realize my addiction to it until years later, when the days I would not take Adderall, I could not function. I had no energy. I couldn't get out of bed.
That's like, it has a shelf life per day, right?
Well, you develop a tolerance for it. So the more you develop a tolerance, the doctor increases your dose, right? Yeah. And I realized it was destroying my body.
Okay.
So then the third time I got fired in my career, I was like, it was the second time I got fired in my career. It was at the peak of my Adderall addiction, and I didn't care about being fired. I just was so grateful that I didn't have to show up for work, because at that point, all I wanted was to stop taking Adderall. In my mind, I subconsciously committed that I am stopping this drug and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I went through a 6 to 9 month detox period with it.
Yeah. Okay. So you're like, all right, but it wasn't just weaning yourself off medication. You had to get your mind right, because you can't just that's a different thing. It requires, you talk about even sleep and being present. So, this is important, I think. And as we go into more of a biohacking conference, but just in general for our own lives, at any phase, treating yourself more kind,
right,
and allowing yourself to maybe.
And there's other ways.
Yeah.
There's still ways.
How did you pioneer this?
That's an interesting word that you use. So first of all, I didn't share with anyone what I was going through.
Okay.
I just did it on my own, and I didn't have anybody that I felt I could open up to about it. But all I knew was I had to stop taking it. At that point, I wasn't taking any other pharmaceutical drugs, because in taking the Adderall, I was also taking sleep medication.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I gotta stop this. But the first 6 months was really difficult, because I literally didn't want to get out of bed. I had no energy, and I had to figure out ways to just get myself out of bed, trusting that this is all going to work out. Cool now.
When you even switch a job that you hate, that's a weird trauma, like a death in the family too. So you were going through like a transition of, you had done that type of work.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to heal from
that.
Yes. So that's like a double whammy right there.
Right. And it was interesting, that company that I was working for at the time, me getting fired was actually a very vindictive kind of move on the person. But I was like, I don't care. I'm just glad to be out of that environment, because it was a really toxic environment across a 600 person organization.
Oh, sure.
But what I do want to say, to fast forward, is now I didn't know this at the time. Okay. I don't think we know it at the time when we're going through it. But my problem was not that I couldn't focus. It was because I didn't know how to manage my mind. I didn't understand my mind. I didn't understand myself. I didn't have the awareness. I didn't have the personal development tools. I didn't have a coach at the time. I didn't have the tools I needed to understand myself, to understand how my mind works, to understand how to make sense of myself in this world, and to understand that everything, like, we are the masters of our mind. Talk about biohacking, like
you were doing it, but you were developing that new becoming you is what you're talking about in that book.
Yes. Well, now fast forward 2 years later. So first of all, one thing I want to say with Adderall is it was destroying my body and it really messed up my digestive system for years. So it wasn't until just a couple of years ago that my digestive system started to normalize. I stopped taking Adderall. And when was that? 2017 was when 2017.
Okay.
When I decided that was my last dose of Adderall, late 2017. And now, fast forward, now I'm a huge, huge fan of Dr. Joe's meditation, Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Oh, okay. I was like, is that? Yes.
And I believe that there's so much about our biology that we have a lot of dominion over just with understanding how our mind works, understanding our consciousness, having a relationship with a higher power, with a force greater than ourselves, and actually having our relationship with our bodies, with our spirit, with our soul, and our mind.
Mm-hmm.
And when you understand how to orchestrate that symphony, it's beautiful, system of 50 trillion cells of our body, and also be here in our human form, recognizing that we're not just physical humans, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And when we harmonize the metaphysical aspect of life, the spiritual aspect of life, and the physical aspect of life, like that's when I know I'm thriving and I'm feeling like a badass. And that's what I experienced.
But the spiritual awakening you talk about, I wrote it down.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. There's a massive spiritual awakening. And I think that's the thing with corporate. Is you're in corporate, I think part of the golden handcuffs, because you don't have a lot of autonomy. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. In my not W-2 right now, I have a lot of autonomy, but
right, because you still have some corporate right now.
I still am working in...
But it's a different... but you have control over your life in that space.
Yes.
You've chosen that role. So maybe we talk about that too.
Absolutely.
Business ownership can take so many shapes and forms. So I always want to empower people to think about it. There's all kinds of ways to do it.
There's so many ways. So I've made peace with my corporate life. I'm very fortunate I get to still do what I groomed myself to do, what work groomed me to do in my corporate life. So that's my 9 to 5. I'm fully committed to that. It pays the bills. It puts a roof over my head. And on the side, I have a lifestyle as an entrepreneur and a biohacker. And I've learned to bridge all the worlds now. And I'm very harmonious with how I live my life. So as an entrepreneur, I help savvy real estate investors grow and scale their investment portfolio. I have a very, very large network of lenders and capital providers and debt fund creators in the private money world.
Okay.
So I'm building that business. At the same time, I have my 9 to 5, which is very, very demanding. The way that I think of my 9 to 5 is, okay, this is a life that eventually I'm going to exit in pursuit of building a thriving business in the private money world. Then that business is what's going to help me grow and scale and pursue more of the humanitarian stuff that I do to give back to the world.
You're listening to Pathways with Amber Stitt. For more episodes like this, plus so much more, check out the podcast page at amberstitt.com. Let's take action together. Now let's get back to our episode.
Going back to your mind, do you think sometimes people just don't trust what they can't see, so they don't spend time on this?
Absolutely. I mean, unfortunately, unless we have a model of possibility, or unless we consciously make a choice to be open-minded, to be more aware beyond what we know, what we see is literally limited to our belief system. So you have to make the choice to be open, to be like, okay, this is what I believe now, and I'm open to what I can't see. But then that's where the fear comes in. So I work on this every day.
Okay.
Yeah. I work on when anxiety comes in, because it's still anxiety comes in every now and then. Well, actually, it comes in when it wants to.
I gotta talk to my anxiety and say, no, not today.
Exactly. I'm developing a relationship with the anxiety. It's like it's being okay with the unknown. It's being okay with not knowing. And then it's letting go and surrendering, because that's where the magic happens. And literally, this is where we want to control so much. We want to know. But when we want to control and we want to know, we limit what the universe can literally bring into our lives.
Teach us, bring it to our opportunities.
And think of it, I think of things in energy. So everything has energy. So if you're showing up in life, controlling and fearful and consistently anxious, you're blocking the frequency of what's possible. When you raise your vibration and you come from a place of, okay, I'm trusting life. I have total faith. I love you, universe. I know what's meant for me will come. I may not know how it's going to look like, but I trust the process. It's like, it's a different frequency, right?
It was pretty cool.
Right. So you're feeling it.
Just as I had to tell myself a little bit of that walking into all these amazing people today and make sure that, I do a good job, but I had to say, I get to do this. Who gets to do this?
Yes.
And it was respecting that, you're being called to do certain things and you might not have full control I'm a pretty neurotic person myself, this is good for me.
And you shifted. Yeah, you shifted your mindset. I mean, we all have that.
That's like, let's talk about it. And that's not like, oh, there's something wrong. It's like, we all have our little nuggets of something floating around in the energy, but trying to remain in that positive space. And so when you're talking about business, I feel, maybe I'm wrong, but when you explain what you're doing in conjunction, like with your 9 to 5, we'll call it, you're at peace with it and you're building it and it's happening.
Right.
And that's pretty amazing.
Yes. My skill set is in operations. Pharmaceutical clinical research is a very heavily regulated industry.
And you have patience with that too, I suppose.
Right. And so I thought to myself, where can I really transfer my skill sets? Well, the universe opened up an opportunity, many opportunities.
You've just been thinking and being okay with like, I need to think about this.
Yeah.
So kind of putting it out there.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm seeing now where I can effectively transfer my skill set.
So anyone local, because we're all going to be at the book signing together. So they get to meet you.
Yeah.
And let's show the Becoming You book too. With a community through what Wendy and Patricia have built, but also I know that you're on LinkedIn. How do you want people to communicate with you and learn more about the projects that you're working on?
Well, if you are a savvy real estate investor and you want to grow and scale your investment portfolio, reach out to me. I'll give my business number. It's 858-815-35. Oh, shoot. It's 3509. No, 3508.
And we're going to have it in the show notes. So don't worry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's
not a number I
gave
thought I
you
memorized it.
I know. That's what happens now.
But anyway, you could also reach me at Suzaita at araiyafunding.com. So Suzaita at araiyafunding.com. And it's ARAIYA. Araiya Funding. That's the name of my firm.
And then community keeps evolving and new projects arise and the world's just beautiful. But
thank you.
I feel like that's what, when you're writing this is before, I read this a few years back. I was telling Wendy before, I think you were here, that this is the first book that really introduced me to her. And then I'm reading all your stories and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to get involved with this community. Back to the book before we wrap up. New lifestyle, new world. This is where it's kind of like shedding these things in the space of like how we've coined business needs to be a certain way. And again, back to not being able to see tangible things. Sometimes we have to be okay with what we don't know. And I feel like that's what you're really cultivating that. And it's inspiring because I think sometimes we work off fear a lot and that prevents us from taking these leaps or even being here in an event like this together this week. We have to, talk ourselves out of it and trust that that's okay and put yourself in different positions. And so here come opportunities from that.
Right. I think you make a really great acknowledgement that we often come from fear. I mean, it's easy to do when our world is designed by default for us. We've been taught at the very youngest age to come from fear. So the work is disentangling from that energy and recognizing that, first of all, it doesn't have to be that way. And we have a choice in every moment to come from love, possibility, collaboration, authenticity, opportunity, openness, expansion, and surrender and trust. And while some of this may sound a little bit woo, but that's actually the piece that is missing for many people. I mean, throw in the woo, because you would be surprised how much your life can shift with just a little bit of woo.
And now we're not talking like woo girls, because like in Strength Finders, we talk about winning others over, but like allow yourself to have some of that woo, which is like, it doesn't have to make sense completely.
Right.
And it's like, hey,
right. There's a whole unseen force, a power greater than us that is governing every atom of our existence.
It sounds like you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Made peace with that. Right?
I have a relationship with it. I cultivate it every day.
Well, I need to get some more woo. I'm going to get more woo from you later this week. You're going to give me tactics, tips. All right, everybody. Suzaita, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to hang out with you.
Yes, it's going to be a fabulous weekend.
Yep.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining us for this special edition of Pathways Unleashed, recorded at OWL headquarters here in Delray Beach, Florida. Join us for more powerful conversations with real people who dare to design life on their own terms. Until next time, keep taking action on your unique path.